I'm here at the Stop the Steal rally, and we're here. I'm interviewing someone here that's at the rally. Tell us why you came out today.
Well, I heard about this rally like a week ago, and I decided it'd be fun. I haven't been to a Trump rally in a while, so I decided to come out.
That's great. So, do you honestly, 2020, that it's possible for someone to actually manipulate an election result in the United States?
Manipulate as in how?
Manipulate as in they could alter the results of the election. I mean, we say that we're the most industrialized country in the world. Do you think that it's possible that somebody could actually do what Trump's accusing Joe Biden of, or the people that the election was actually rigged?
Honestly, yeah, I do. There's a lot of statistical anomalies in the battleground states that Biden won. Biden had many more voters than Barack Obama did in 2008. I don't think that's necessarily statistically possible.
Well, in this election, though, we know that the voter turnout was 160 million, and when Barack Obama was elected, it was only 140 million. So both candidates had the most votes for people in a presidential election in history.
Well, I just see numbers like 82% turnout in Milwaukee, and that just blows my mind. I don't know how that's possible, so I feel like there should be an audit. If we want a really fair free election, both sides should be able to agree to that.
I agree.
Sure I don't know why we should just close our mind to it. Possible.
I agree. I mean, I think 4 years ago, I was doing this very same thing, and I was defending the fact that Donald Trump won the election fair and square, and even though it may not have been the result that Democrat system, if it is in fact rigged, then it means that the pickups that they made in the House are also in question. Wouldn't that stand to reason that would be the case as well?
Personally, I think Republicans should be doing more to support President Trump. He's the reason that they're getting reelected. I think, there's a lot of traitors out there that aren't supporting him right now, and I think they're in on him with the Democrats to keep the establishment going. The
Yes.
Democrats rigged it against Bernie, and for Joe Biden, they just want to keep this establishment.
In terms of Bernie, I don't know if so. I won't say that. I don't agree that it was rigged against Bernie. I would say they just flat out gave it to Hillary on an IOU, which is a little different. It wasn't the voting system that was in error. They just said, you know what? We don't care. We owe her, and we're giving her the nod. I think it's sad that something like that can happen.
So about your question, I personally don't think the establishment Republicans want Trump to win. I think they'd be happier with a Joe Biden presidency. Because
Really?
Trump's a true populist.
Wow.
The establishment does not want a true grassroots American populist to be in the White House. The media, everything.
And what do you think are the biggest? What are the biggest reasons for why you support Donald Trump for president? What does he do for you personally?
I feel like Donald Trump is the only person on this planet that's fighting actually for the American people. There's so many. He had the nicest life. He could have been in New York, in his billion-dollar tower, away from this screwed-up country, but he risked his life for us. He didn't have to do this. He didn't have to go through the fraud election. He didn't have to go through the impeachment. He didn't have to go through any of this. But he's here. He's fighting for us.
Okay, so I often say that in the way that I look at life. Again, my company is VoteOurVoice. We're basically trying to get people to use data and to make voting decisions and not vote based on party or vote based on emotion. So you look and see how well your representatives represent you, and you vote on the ones that do the best job. regardless of their political party.
Of course.
That would be the best way to put the power back into our hands, obviously, and to make it more nonpartisan. I'm fascinated though as to why there seems to be this this affinity for Donald Trump as president, like he's a personal family member to so many of the people who support him. I often say that they even will make allowances for him that they don't make or wouldn't make for an immediate family member. Can you explain why you think people feel like that, and what it, because it's not like if you get sick, this guy's coming to visit you in the hospital. He's not coming over to your house for Thanksgiving dinner. So why do people care so much? I mean, it's just a guy's job. I mean, it's a nice job, but why do you care?
Well, it goes back to that point I said earlier that people feel like he's the only person that's actually truly fighting for us. I don't think any other, especially Republican candidate, could ever get this turnout, ever.
What did he do for you personally that's affected your life?
Well, he's the one.
Does the wall impact your life at all?
It does impact your life.
No. Does it impact your life? Because see, I look at it as, I would have given him the money to build the wall if it was me that just could do it, right? Because I don't really give a shit one way or the other. Build the wall, let's see if it makes a difference. But I don't live in a border state, right? We're here, and it's not impacting me at all. So why, so I'm thinking, well, hey, you know what? You want to build a wall? Build a wall. It's only, in the grand scheme of things, in terms of the amount of money that he's used, I mean, like $13 billion it's a drop in the bucket. I think all presidents should probably have a discretionary budget that they can write a check to do anything with, and we can't question it. So if the guy wants to use his money to build a wall, then let him build a wall. If he wants to add money to Planned Parenthood or building schools or tearing down shit, they get to do whatever they want with the money because we elected them, right? So that to me, but I got to tell you, I just don't make the connection on why the wall, how the wall impacts my day-to-day life. The tax thing, he's absolutely helped me, but I have a small business.
Yeah.
So most people are W-2 workers, and the tax breaks don't affect them either. So I'm just curious as to, well, what is it? I mean, there's very little that, and I'm not picking on Donald Trump because I'll say the same thing about Barack Obama. There's very little that he did that impacted my day-to-day life. I would say, I don't know what you do for a living, but I would say that there's probably a better chance that whatever you do, some way would impact me more than what the guy living just down the street in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yeah. Well, here's what I'm gonna say. So, in our life, of course, it doesn't really, not much of this affects us that much. A lot of people, take a lot of it too seriously, I feel like. But with the establishment, the media, every single organization feels like it's, working against us as normal human people, normal American citizens. I feel like Donald Trump is the one person that stand up to that, and that's why you get so much hate. So he's the one that actually gives us a voice.
That makes sense. So do you really believe, every 4 years, everybody comes out, both candidates claim they're going to be the agent of change, right? Do you really believe that either one of the people, the candidates, are change agents? Do you really believe? I mean, if you had to look back 4 years ago to now, did he really impact or make the change that you expected when you first elected him? And I'm not saying this being a knock against him. I'm saying that to be a knock against the system.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say. He did what he did about, I say, half that, we asked him to in 2016. He got about half of it done.
Uh-huh.
If he was like all If he was a dictator, just as a figure,
Right.
then we could see a lot of change. But he's like that one step forward to us seeing change. That's what I feel like.
Okay, that's fair enough. What do you is it fair for us to expect change if the people who do the electing, we don't change? So don't we need to do something different if we're going to expect a different result? It can't be, let's just, because you'd have to agree that from a partisan perspective, we're probably as divided as a country as we've ever been.
Sure, yeah.
So how could we reasonably, if we step back and just take an assessment of ourselves, say, how can we actually get anything done or expect change when we aren't changing, the people we elected aren't changing, and the process we're using to elect them, that doesn't change. So if nothing changes, using the word change to get elected is the only thing, and that hasn't even changed. They all do it because it's just a popular thing it's like a hashtag, right? It's a trending hashtag to say I'm an agent for change. But it's bullshit no matter who, whether it's red, blue, or independent or whatever, because at the end of the day, none of these guys care about anything other than keeping their fucking job for another term, right? And it's like, so unless we change how they view that and want to put us first, I don't know, I just wonder, from your perspective, if you see any ability to change anything, or do you think it's even possible?
I mean, if Trump actually had, wasn't dealing with these constant attacks, these fraudulent attacks of impeachment, and what was the other one? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I get, but do you think he's, all right, so let me ask it this way. Do you think that the attacks that he had, yep, do you think that it's any different though if you had to compare it to the bullshit that Obama had to go through, in his first term? I mean, he got it from his own party, right? His own party put the screws to him. Everybody put it, and so you say, hey, so was it real? Anybody that represents something that's not necessarily a change agent, but I would just say looks different. Donald Trump was not a politician. We elected him. We all elected him. Whether you voted for him or not, he became president, so he's our guy. That's the way I see presidency. Same thing with Barack Obama. Whether you voted for him or not, he's everybody's person. So I don't think, though, that in either case, when the guys on Capitol Hill put the screws to a guy like that and they can't do anything, it's just, man, I mean, those are the people whose elections we need to pay probably more close attention to, because it's the people in Congress and the Senate that have really done a disservice to the American public. So one of the things, let me ask you this. We did a preliminary ranking of the senators 1 to 100. If you knew proof positive that based on how well these people, how each senator, so how that ranking works is we take the individual report cards. So if you went on VoteOurVoice, it would give you a personalized report card for how well your politicians represent you. We take your personal report card, we take everybody else's, and we aggregate them for each state, and then we measure one versus the other to see how well they do. So if you saw that one of your senators was number 90 out of 100, regardless of your political party, would you really vote for that person again, or would you be willing to vote for, in that case, if the person made it through the primary, would you be willing to vote for a Democrat because you knew the person had a shitty report card?
All right, so I'll use a real life example here. The Republicans that aren't going to support Trump through this fraudulent election, the ones that are staying quiet, I'm going to work my hardest to make sure they lose in 2022.
Okay.
So those are the ones I know that are fake, the ones I know that are betraying Trump. So that's pretty much my answer.
What would it take to, if the secretaries of state and on the fact that there were bipartisan oversight, for all of the election counting and so forth, if none of that seems to make you believe that there was nothing, that the counting of the results was on the up and up, what would it take for you to believe it? Is there anything that anybody can say to you that would make you believe that the result actually did happen this way? And I mean, it's not like it's a huge difference, right? We're talking, I mean, they're making it seem like it was a huge difference, but at the end of the day, I don't think out of 60 some odd million people, a differential of 4 million votes is or in this case 5 million votes is, that's pretty close when you consider just how big how many people have voted in aggregate, right?
Yeah, but they're in really close swing state elections, if that's what you're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, so what, Wisconsin's 20,000 votes apart.
Yep. And it is, I mean, it is what it is.
Arizona is within, 12,000 or something?
Yeah, something like that, 16. Would you be more prone? So let me ask it this way. Do you think it was a mistake that the president didn't encourage more of his supporters to vote by mail? Because some of this is, you have people who just, he said, go out on election day. And if you're an older person or somebody who isn't very mobile, you got to have a whole lot of luck and you got to really give a shit to get up and then go through the process of voting, when the only point was, regardless of your political belief, just mail the thing in and we can count you anyway. So you got to assume there would have had to been millions of people that absolutely would have supported Donald Trump had he just told them, you need to just take advantage of that. And it was and I see it as just personally, I just think it's a political mistake. They all make them, but that was his. He thought that it was better to, claiming that the system is rigged. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're not the most industrialized country in the world if we can't count votes, right? I mean, that just doesn't. So I don't know.
Sure, but the point of discouraging the mail-in ballots is it allows for fraudulent things like this to happen. A lot of countries don't use mail-in ballots for that very certain reason.
But we're the best. We keep saying that, and the president keeps telling everybody we're number one. I mean, seriously, in the grand scheme of things in terms of technology, where would you rank counting how many votes somebody got in an election as a technological innovation or something? I mean, that's a whole lot less innovative than developing, I don't know, Uber, Tesla, or anything else in this country. This is just a counting machine. I mean, this is just people just feeding it through. It's no different than being in college and them using a Scantron and
I'm talking about the ballot harvesting, though.
What do you mean?
Where they fill in fake ballots in mass amounts.
How do you think that would work? I mean, do you see how you saw what you had to do to vote? They check your ID and so forth. So the numbers of people that you would need to do that, I don't, and again, we're not third world, and so I just don't see it. I think it's a hard thing to do.
So let's just say an example for Pennsylvania, the signature did not have to match for your mail-in ballot. That was a law. It did not have to match.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure.
So how many people would have got a ballot? But you got to admit, if they're just sending them out, it's not like they were just going to send them only to one party and not the other. Everybody was just going to. Who would have known? They were just going to mail them, and anybody could have asked for one.
Or mail them themselves.
Yeah, but anybody could have asked for a mail-in ballot, and all I'm saying is, a Republican in the middle of nowhere in Amish country that wasn't going to go someplace to vote could have said, hey, just send me the thing and then I'll send it by Pony Express, if you will, just to try and be funny here, and send in my ballot that way so that it can be counted. Not a very difficult thing. And at the end of the day, I'm personally struggling with how hard I think it would be to organize this, and I don't know who would be doing the organizing,
Yeah, well, I feel like we're gonna find out sooner or later.
You think it's gonna you were gonna find out through the court system, or where do you think? What's your prediction?
Well, Rudy Giuliani says they found about 700,000 invalid ballots, and so.
So how would he know? How would he have information that the secretaries of state, whose job it is to know, and those are elected people, how would he possibly know that?
On the details, I'm not too sure, but we're gonna find out very soon.
Do you trust that that he's on the up and up, and that you're not being played, that he's just telling you something to believe, give you hope, false hope maybe, or make you believe something that just isn't flat out true?
Well, as a blank statement like that, we found 700,000 invalid ballots.
Right.
It's like a yes or no question. It's either going to happen or it doesn't. So we'll wait until then.
And if it doesn't happen, you'll accept it.
I'll accept it, yeah.
That's fair. I think that's the way it is, and because when you think of it over the course of your lifetime, you're going to have presidents you supported and some you don't. Yeah. This is not going to be the last time. I just think it's interesting how this person seems to, in President Trump, seems to be people seem so personally attached to their decision. Now, I have a theory that a lot of people don't want to be wrong. And that it's really their hubris. Yeah, it's their hubris that, hey, I need my guy to win because I just don't want to be wrong. And so it really has nothing to do with him, but it's just a reflection of you made a choice, or something some result is telling you that you made a wrong decision or choice, or it was not the thing that ended up being the true thing, or the representative thing for us. So I don't get it. I don't care to that extent, because, hey, I'd make wrong decisions every day.
Well, I feel like he's a very charismatic guy,
Very true.
A lot of people like to, they like to talk about the way he speaks, but I feel like he gives great speeches, he gives powerful speeches that really connect to people, and the media, of course, bashes him.
Now, do you think he's truthful? Are you willing to concede that when he talks, he'll just say, he literally will say things that aren't true, and I will give him the charisma, and he'll literally just he'll say one thing one day and then flip his position, maybe even mid-speech. But I don't know. Tell me how that isn't hard for you to digest. Because I got to tell you, it wouldn't matter who I was supporting. I just can't stomach the fact that somebody would. I take it as a personal insult to me that you think I would buy your shit, no matter what you say, and there's nothing you could say that's going to turn me off or make me feel different about you. And that you could just talk with impunity, no matter how great you say it, like a Ronald Reagan, who was probably the most charismatic president of all time. But even he didn't abuse that in that way. I mean, so from that perspective, that's where I struggle to understand how he has this Svengali-like aura over people, where they just overlook everything. Just like, well, so he lied about that. So he lied. At what point do you call him and put his feet to the fire and say, look, man, you represent us. You can't be doing this shit. Because if you did jerk his chain, he'd have to operate differently, because he doesn't control you. You guys, if more people thought that way, he'd have a responsibility to you that it doesn't appear he feels.
Yeah, well, he doesn't do everything, I agree with. Last year was actually a very rough time for me as a supporter, because things were moving very slow on immigration, and I was feeling kind of terms black-pilled, but it means you think everything's just over, and that's how I was feeling. But in the end, he's the one guy that I'll always, I won't say always, but as long as he's preaching his statement on America first and putting us before anyone else, and I'll support him.
Okay, that's fair. Well, I really appreciate your time. What's your name?
Robert.
Robert Richard. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alrighty.